So in the Musaf service of Rosh Hashanah, we said there were three parts: the Malchios, Zichronos, Shofras. Yesterday we discussed Malchios, making Hashem your king, and what we discussed was that the alternative was making your Yetzer Hara your king, making your evil inclination a real alternative to Hashem himself, which is what we naturally do. Today I want to talk about the second part, which is Zichronos. The fact that Hashem remembers everything we do.
Wow. Like this? Let's see if it works.
That section begins with a whole long narrative, full of words that seemingly are repetitious until you read them carefully. And there's a very specific message that's being gotten across. And it's important that we understand this. So we begin by saying, Ata zocher ma'aseh olam, Hashem, you remember everything that happens. You're aware of everything, and you don't forget. Among the things he doesn't forget, so it says there, ma'aseh yish, the actions that a person does. V'sach pulo sov, the things he attempts to do. Or it's not only what we did do, but our attempts, things that we tried doing. Machshavosi, our thoughts. Yitzrei fkudoso, which means what you were created for. The strengths that you were given in order to accomplish something. And Yitzrei ma'alalei ish, your character flaws. This whole thing is one big equation. What it means to say is that all human action has to be understood in its proper perspective and not superficially alone. When we talk about Rosh Hashanah as being a day of judgment, see, you think, make a list, I did all these awful things. No, that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. Remember, we said that Rosh Hashanah was, what are you made of? What are you? What have you chosen? What do you live for? Our action is representative of something. Exactly what it is that it represents depends on many factors. So, you can always start with a very simple question. You got this guy who, be it that it's in his genes, whether it's in his experience, his upbringing, is a natural pickpocket. Pickpocket. Right? Where he sees people, he sees pockets. Got people like that. Now, he's a nice guy. He's got a conscience. So he tries to restrain himself. And over the course of a year, although he was tempted multiple times, he only picked 5 pockets. Then he got his buddy, who's a normal human being. And it never dawned upon him that you stick your finger into someone else's pocket. So, of course, he didn't pickpocket ever. With regard to pickpocketry, who would you say is greater? The one who picked 5 pockets or the one who picked no pockets? Yeah?
The one who picked 5 pockets.
This is someone who had to work on it. For the other one, it was natural. It was never his challenge. So this is simple, but it's much more complex. We all have our strengths. There are things that come to us naturally. The things that come to us naturally don't carry all that much weight in determining what we did this year or what we did in our lifetime. Because what the human being is all about is free will, it's choice. Anything that came naturally, well, that was God-given. It was in your genes, it was in your upbringing. So it's simple. Someone who's naturally good, naturally giving. It's great to have him for a neighbor. Great to have him for a friend. But in terms of how much weight that carries, he didn't work on it. It just came naturally. Every one of us has strengths. Every one of us has weaknesses. Anything we do that goes against our nature, anything we do that stands out as an expression of free will because it is so non-instinctive to the particular human being, that carries so much more weight. There's a halacha that says, if you were ever in a situation where you were saved miraculously, every time you pass by that place, you're supposed to recite a blessing, thanking Hashem for having performed a miracle for you in this place. What's this? No, she'osa li nes b'makom hazeh. It's a Mishnah, it's a halacha. What this means is that anytime Hashem does something that is supernatural, that is eternal. Anything that goes against nature is beyond time. You're not just reminiscing. This is a place where something supernatural happened that exists forever. It's the same with human action. When we do things that are unnatural, when we do things that we've got to fight for, that we've got to struggle with ourselves for, they are eternal. They give us quality of life in the eternity because that defines us as choosers, as exercising free will in a very special way. Things that we do naturally are nice. But things that we do that involve really fighting against your nature, that is forever. That is forever. It's very interesting. There are times we do big things and we feel so great about it. The truth is it was natural. I don't want to belittle anybody. But there are some people that are extremely sociable and they love helping people by nature. The greatest pleasure they have on earth is to have a Shabbos table with 100 guests. They love it. It's wonderful. But that's them. If you're introverted and you invite Shabbos guests, wow, that's forever. Your 3 Shabbos guests may do more for the existence than the 100 Shabbos guests of the natural. Because you went against your nature. Our instincts are so built into us for us to go against our nature. That is the ultimate exercise of our free will. Everything we do then is beyond natural and is eternal. When we talk of Hashem remembering, what we mean is this becomes part of eternity. So when we reflect on our own behavior and we make our plans for the coming year on Rosh Hashanah. So the obvious thing is that people identify with different great things and they want to do more of that. So the people that love sharing commit themselves to share more. The people that love to study will study more. Everyone wants to do, what do people do when they, when they want to make their New Year's resolutions? Whatever it is that they're into, they want to do better. I'm not trying to discourage that. That's not enough. That's not enough. Growth, real growth, change, means overcoming your limitations. Our limitations are not absolute. Our limitations are part of our instinct. And the spirit can go far further than our instincts will allow them to.
Can you learn this out to other places in life?
Come again?
Can a person learn this out to other places in life?
Can a person?
I don't want to take off my mask to say it. Can a person learn what you just said to other places and aspects of life?
Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. So what comes naturally, don't ignore it, is to do that too. But what's going to make or break you, what is a fulfillment of Hashem's desire to give when He created our free will and gave us the ability to earn? The fulfillment is not the stuff that comes naturally to you. The fulfillment is in the things that involve going against your nature.
And the root of your premise is that whatever Hashem does is eternal, which of course sounds very cautious. But I just can think about the generation of the floods, where Hashem later says, basically this will never happen again. So there it seems to not go this way. Like, why is that?
No, when we talk about eternal, it means that it makes a difference to eternity.
So
The fact that something will not happen again doesn't mean that it doesn't have its effect on eternity. It has its effect. It won't repeat itself, but it'll have its effect forever. So bottom line, growth doesn't mean doing more of that which you feel like doing. Growth means doing that which you really don't feel like doing, but you know you should. Yeah.
What if it's something that, say, intellectually you're very into? For example, like let's say for me being organized, right? Like your country is great to do, I want to do it, but I'm just very hard to pull off, very hard to do actually. Shit that's in the middle of things that are naturally easy.
There's the organized mind, and then there's getting oneself to do something. There are two different attributes.
No, just to give you an example, what I mean is, what about actions that are, let's say, good actions, right? That intellectually you resonate with a lot, and like you're into the thought, but they're still very difficult to pull off.
So that's something that you can grow by doing. Something that you can really change and become greater by getting yourself to do what your intellect tells you is right. That in itself is something that's eternal.
One more thing about it. So it sounds still like something you do and then it has forever that lasting effect. But there's one point still the purpose, which is why wasn't it before there too? Because if it's like timeless, they would say it's past, present, future.
It became timeless after I did it.
So then there's a contradiction there, right?
Of course, but that's the miracle of free will. We can do that. So the Gemara relates, one of the rabbis took ill and he was in a coma. And he flew up to heaven, his soul flew up to heaven. And then he recovered and his soul came back. He woke up and he was laughing. So I asked him, what was he laughing about? So he says, I was up in heaven, and it was hilarious. Everyone we respect down here is a nobody up in heaven. The people we have no respect for, they're all the way on top. What is the message of this Gemara?
Which Gemara is that?
Gemara in Bava Basra, first parak. How do we respect people? We generally respect people by their superficial actions. We have no idea what's going on inside them. Up in heaven, by real standards, people are respected on the basis of their hard work. So there may be people that are nobodies down here, and they are the champions. And then there are others that are great, but it was only natural. They didn't have to work for it. Yeah.
So is that referring to, let's say, people respect on a secular level, like rich or famous, or does that also include, let's say, Torah giants, like you can say the Rabbi isn't actually that great, and they're respected now?
It's Torah giants also, but if you know, there are all kinds of Torah giants. There are Torah giants that were just brilliant, and there are Torah giants that worked very hard. And you can tell the difference in personality. For example, just as an example, you know, people, the cynics, used to say, Rabbi Avadia Yosef, yeah, he knew everything by heart because he had a photographic memory. He did have a good memory. But just to learn everything he learned takes more than one lifetime. He had 20,000 books in his Cheder Sfarim, as it was called. And he knew them all by heart. It takes more than a lifetime to read through all of those 20,000 books. So people asked him, you know, how do you do it? It's very simple. Day and night, non-stop. And by the way, he didn't just read it once. So there were things that he had to read 40 times before he memorized them. And understand them, and work through them. You know, so maybe he was a natural on the one hand, but on the other hand, he worked like crazy. Someone asked Rabbi Yashiv, you know, I want to take off a couple of years and just study day and night, so I'll know everything like you. So Rabbi Yashiv told him, take it from me, it's more painful than death. It is more painful than death. The kind of, you know, pushing yourself without sleep and making sure that your brain is working, pushing your brain to get it. We all think, you know, these giants they're all naturals. Yeah, they're highly intelligent. But the way they worked. Now, was everyone like that? No.
So, when we have the whole thing with the Elul books, it's not referring to people of the Jewish world that we think are early down.
Both.
Both?
It's there are people that we respect, and we'll find out that they were just naturals.
Even in the Jewish world?
Yes. That's what the Gemara was referring to.
But Rabbi, would the Rosh Hashanah say that in general, people who we view as still adore, would it usually be in the category of think they're great and are great, or even those they could easily not be so great?
In theory, they could be not so great. It's not usual. It's not common. That someone's just a total natural and didn't have to work hard. I haven't met any like them.
So it's possible, but Rosh Hashanah would say it's very rare for someone who we view as like a really great person, like Rashi or Abaya or, you know, one of the Tanaim, to actually have had it just natural.
Yeah. In theory, it could be, but in theory. So we got to be honest about ourselves. When we talk about growing doesn't just mean doing the things that come naturally. It doesn't just mean doing good deeds. It means work. Why do we say it's all about the work ethic? Rosh Hashanah is celebrating the work ethic. Celebrating the fact that we're responsible for our actions. That we're judged. It's the festival of judgment. That we are responsible for ourselves. Responsibility means not just do what Hashem created you in a way that you can do it easily. Do that which you have to work hard for. This is the essence of Zichronos. Now, Zichronos ends with something that deserves a day of its own, and that is the Akedah, the binding of Yitchak. It is actually very much part of what Rosh Hashanah is. We read from the Torah on the second day, the Akedah, the blowing of the shofar, ideally is the shofar of a ram that Abraham brought in place of Yitzchak. And we mention it throughout the davening. Alright, Avraham Avinu was great. Yitzchak Avinu was great. They had the Akedah. What does that do with us? And second, of all the great things they did, why the Akedah? Why is that it? So that'll be tomorrow's class. Understanding the Akedah and how it applies to every individual. And why that's so much the theme of Rosh Hashanah. Okay?
Berkovits.